Hello and welcome back to Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. Well, last time we played through the Triforce Cup on 200cc, and today we are going to be playing through the Crossing Cup on 200cc, and we are going to be using, let's use Shy Guy. We'll use Yellow Shy Guy, why not? And we will use Yellow Shy Guy in the, let's use a circuit special with the roller tires and the paper glider. Here are the stats. And once again, we're going to make sure that Smart Steering and Auto Acceleration are indeed disabled. And so without further ado, let's dive into the Crossing Cup on 200cc. Let's do this. So today's topic is going to be about my favorite and least favorite video game endings. You can probably guess what some of those are, and the ones that you can probably guess, I'm not going to be spending much time on. For instance, one of the worst video game endings that I've ever played is Danganronpa V3. I'm not going to spend any time talking about that, because if you don't know why I consider that to be an absolutely abhorrent ending, then you probably haven't seen my Danganronpa V3 LP, which means you probably don't care about V3, which means you probably don't want to hear about it anyway. Besides, I'm pretty sure everyone who knows about Danganronpa V3 knows why that ending sucks, and if they don't, well, the logic is out there explaining why it makes no sense. I'm not going to spend any time going over it again. But you also won't hear me go over the typical answers, by which I mean, when people reference really bad video game endings, there's a couple that usually get brought up again and again and again. And those are, among these aren't all of them, but some of the more popular ones that tend to pop up in this discussion are things like Mass Effect 3, and Borderlands, and Fallout 3, and Half-Life 2, to some extent. And I'm sure there's some others, things like that. The go-to stereotypical answers that you hear whenever someone asks, what's the worst video game ending of all time? Aside from the fact that I've never played Mass Effect 3, and I've never finished Fallout, I've never played more than 10 minutes of Fallout 3, and I haven't played more than like 2 hours of Borderlands. I wouldn't want to reference them anyway because those are the answers that everyone goes to. So I'm gonna pick some different answers that you may not have heard. I mean, you can still probably guess what they're gonna be, because if you know anything about my preferred games, you can probably guess. But I don't know, maybe I'll surprise you. We'll see what happens. So my goal is going to be to get through all the ones I have in mind in this one video. I don't know if I can do that, but I'm going to try to accomplish that task by kind of blitzing through the ones I didn't mean to. Honestly, I expected that to be a banana, and I just kind of instinctively pushed the L button to put it behind me. I did not expect to get a mushroom this early, but alright, well, anyway. I'm going to try to blitz through ones that you already know the answer for. So for instance, I've recently completed The Greatest Attorney Chronicles. And that would be among my list of best video game endings of all time, and it's not even kind of close, and I did not want to do that, but I guess it happened. Oh, I guess I can show this off now. There's a glider right here that you can take if you have the mushroom, and I might be able to make it to the other glider, or I'm going to miss it entirely and completely screw that up. But yeah, I've recently completed The Greatest Attorney Chronicles. That is one of the best video game endings I've ever played, and it's not even close. But I'm also not going to spend a lot of time talking about it, because if you're watching this video, the odds are you've probably seen me react to the end of Greatest Attorney Chronicles, so I'm not going to waste your time going over it again. I got yoinked by a red shell. That's unfortunate. So if you know, you know, and if you don't know, you are more than welcome to check out my Let's Play of that game, or play the game for yourself, even better, because let me tell you, it's phenomenal. It's a slow build to a phenomenal payoff. That is what I will say about that. Conversely, one of the worst video game endings I've ever... I'm going to try to alternate. One of the worst video game endings is Zero Escape Zero Time Dilemma. Not going to spend a whole lot of time talking about that, because you've seen me play through Zero Escape Zero Time Dilemma, and you know why. Because it completely invalidates everything that happened prior to that point, and throws it all out the window, abandons the conflict, abandons the character arcs, abandons the story beats, and just says, lol, maybe they win, maybe they don't, I don't know, game over, goodbye, see you later, thanks for playing. So I hate that ending a lot. One of the best endings I've ever played is Halo 3, because it perfectly caps off the story of the original trilogy, ties up all the loose ends, gives all the characters a proper send-off for their journey, and brings it serves just the entire final mission of that game is a brilliant full circle payoff, and the ending is beautifully powerful, in its heartwarming conclusion for Master Chief and Cortana and everyone else. Of course, I'm happy that they continued past that point, but it does serve as a nice capping off point for the original trilogy. And that's all I'll say about that, because again, odds are you've probably heard me talk about Halo in the past. You know why I love those games so much. So let's keep going, shall we? So you've heard me talk positively about a Halo ending. So how about you hear me talk negatively about a Halo ending? Halo Wars 2. I hate its ending. I mean, I don't really have many great things to say about Halo Wars 2 in general, but especially not the ending, because it's just a dead stop. Nothing happens. So the final. This is the point of distinction I think I need to make. When I'm referring to a video game ending, I'm not referring to the climax. I'm not. The ending to me starts when the climax ends, like we're talking about the denouement of the story, the resolution of the story. That's what I consider to be the ending. I don't consider. So, for instance, in Greatest Attorney Chronicles, I don't consider the ending of that game to be the confrontation against the final boss. I consider the ending to start when the trial stops, and that's when the ending begins proper. So when I'm talking about good and bad endings, I'm talking about the climax is done, the battle's over. How does the story itself conclude? You'd think that'd be implicit in the game's ending, but I know some people like to consider the climax as a part of the game's ending, so I just wanted to make that distinction as to what I'm referring to when I say that. So, Halo, and the reason I bring it up is because Halo Wars 2's final battle is actually pretty cool. They give you unlimited resources and basically just unlimited everything, and it's up to you to use everything in your arsenal strategically to try to fend off, like, a legion of enemies to try to defend Anders long enough, and face off against 3 Scarabs, which are like the most ultra-powerful enemy the Banished has to offer. It's phenomenal. It is an incredible final battle, and it's all wasted because the final seconds of the game is literally just, they launch the enemies into space, and then the game ends. There's something else that happens, but I don't want to spoil it for you, so... And I don't think it's a spoiler to say the good guys win, so whatever. Something else happens, but then the game just ends, and it literally ends with like the UNSC human leader and the banished brute Atriox leader looking at their attack maps or their unit compositions and just staring off like, I can't wait for the next battle, and then the game just ends. And there is DLC, but it's like, it just feels. I'll talk about it in the next race. It just feels, it's one of two, it's so, on the one hand, basically, because my problem is that it doesn't wrap up any plot beats. Like, the conflict, the main beating conflict of that game is the Banished are on the Ark, and when the Banished are on the Ark, it's bad news, because the Ark is like the center, the command center for the most dangerous weapons in the entire universe. By which I mean, if you have control of the Ark, you have the power to wipe out all sentient life in the galaxy, essentially. So, because the Banished have poor intentions, that's a bad thing. So the whole game is spent, like, fighting for control of the Ark to keep it out of their grasp. But the game doesn't end with, like, vanquishing the Banished off the Ark or anything. It's just, like, it feels like the middle point of a story. Because the Banished are still there. They're still, we haven't won yet. They're still on the Ark. They're still planning their next plan of attack. Nothing ended. And it really just feels like a blatant attempt to be like, hey, we got some DLC coming out after the game comes out. Hey, you wanna buy the DLC? See what happens next? Yeah, I bet you wanna buy the DLC. And it just feels really cheap and lazy, and I hate it. So, there's that. And then the last thing I'll say about Halo, because I want to talk about games that aren't just Halo in this video, and by which I mean probably the next video as well, because there's no way I'm gonna be able to wrap this up in this episode, is Halo 4. Halo 4 is a beautiful, beautiful ending, and I won't dare spoil it for you if you've not yet played it, which I find, I have a feeling that if at this point in your life if you have not played Halo 4 yet, you're probably not going to, but even still, I'm going to be cautious and say that it's a beautifully heart-wrenching ending that Halo 5 destroys, but you know what, if you pretend like Halo 5 doesn't exist, then it is a pretty solid ending, and I'm actually really annoyed. If I hadn't run into the snow there, I wouldn't have had to replay this cup, but whatever, it's fine, I'll deal with it, whatever. So Halo 4 is beautiful with the way, what it does with Master Chief and Cortana's relationship and how it caps that off, and it's just, yeah, that's beautiful. So that's one of the best endings, and that's where I'll leave things off of this episode, and next time I'll talk about my remaining 8, because there's 8 more games I haven't discussed yet, and some of these games might be considered to be nuclear takes in terms of my stance on them, but, yeah, I got some things to say about some of the best and worst video game endings in the next episode. But for now, let's give you the results. No unlocks? Alright, that's fine. Alright, so that'll be it for now. Thanks for watching. Stay tuned for next time. We'll catch you all tomorrow for the finale of Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. Goodbye.